welcome to the Layered Cake podcast. Thank you for listening today. Today's topic is going to be very interesting and very close to my heart, creative marketing. If I stumble so many times as I talk, that's because I haven't had so much social interaction the past 3 weeks and I really kind of forgot how to talk. So that's why. But back to our topic, creative marketing. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be new. We're going to be looking at creative marketing in the digital realm, and we're going to be interviewing an expert within this field. Her name is Giovanna Bejjani, and she has very gracefully agreed to get interviewed. She's actually going to be coming over later on today so I could interview her. We've both been quarantining for 15 days, so we're cool, and our government has kind of allowed meetups up to 10 people, so we're good with that. But she's an expert on creative marketing. She's been teaching it for 25 years, and it's going to be a very casual conversation between the both of us. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun. But before we get into that, for those of you who are new to the Layered Cake podcast, the whole concept of the podcast is that we have a cake, which is a certain topic, and we kind of uncover different layers around the cake, and that's a certain structure that we follow in this podcast. So we look at subtopics, subgenres, and kind of different discussions and opinions around the cake, around the podcast. No, this is not a cooking show, and you haven't accidentally pressed on a cooking show. We're not teaching you how to bake a cake here. But yeah, stay tuned. It's going to be really fun. And we're going to be looking at different discussions. Hopefully you can come up with a new opinion on creative marketing or something that you have not noticed. And we're going to be touching on creative marketing during the coronavirus crisis. Stay tuned. So, creative marketing in the digital realm. Okay, so I'm very well aware that creative marketing as a phrase gets used and abused and overused and gets sprinkled onto every single marketing conference like it's lavender. But I want to reclaim its dignity because I feel like creative marketing doesn't deserve to have its reputation smeared to the floor. Because I interviewed the creative director of Edelman about 2 years ago in the Middle East, and he told me that, yeah, it's been a really abused concept. I feel like people are tired of hearing about it, like creativity is going to be this new hip solution, innovation and entrepreneurship. But he genuinely thinks that it's still such a viable solution that when you're always being creative with the way that you approach your marketing tactics, and it could be such a good solution for small and large businesses to package their brands in any way they want. So I feel like it's important to understand that convergence, so media convergence, has been such a driver for creative marketing as a whole. Especially nowadays with the digital realm where you can actually create a campaign that's present on many different platforms but still accessed through this one device. And I think it's very important. And alongside that, we have the attention economy framework, right? Where it's no secret that brands are always trying to gain people's attention. And that has become harder with this converged device and a lot of information and a lot of brands throughout and globalization that are trying to market to people. So the attention economy is very competitive, and competitiveness does drive creativity. And we'll come to that later. But also, attention economy can provide an area where brands exploit people and their interests. So what we have to do is introduce legislation to protect consumers, like the FTC and the ESA, that has to constantly introduce new legislation to protect consumers. But what we see also is that it's kind of becoming hard to be authentic and to be direct with customers because of ad legislation that force advertisement disclosure. So marketing tactics have become more implicit. And when they've become more implicit, we need new creative ways to market to people. And that's where I feel the gold is. And we have infinite space of creativity. So this tightness that we have from ad legislation and from competitiveness in creativity and from convergence and globalization and all that pressure produces a new realm, a new path that creativity can take. But yeah, what shape does creative marketing take in the real world? So let's look at some brands who have successfully made use of convergence, who have successfully made use of legislation, who have used it for them, not against them, who have successfully made use of the attention economy and have used this kind of implicit platform that I talk about, tactful ways to reach out to audiences, that audiences are addressed universally. It's not like, hey, you, come get our attention. It's not as advertising used to be. Only for $9.99, come get this brand, only for you. Are you tired of having to clean your house? It's not like that anymore. So we're seeing kind of brands leaning towards telling a narrative. We're seeing brands leading towards making people feel that they are part of something greater than themselves, to feel that they are part of this family around the brand. All right, this is not new, but the way that they are packaging it through digital marketing is new and is genuinely very creative. So I want to look at the brands that have made use of this environment and have come up with very creative campaigns. For example, Dove. So Dove, in my opinion, has been really successful at kind of hacking the limitations and opportunities of the digital realm and traditional realm and really capitalizing on creative marketing. And they've really thought outside of the box on this campaign. This campaign received 68 million views on YouTube, and it's called the Real Beauty Campaign, in which a forensic artist makes 2 blind sketches of several women. So one from her description of herself only, and the other one from the description given by another woman. And obviously the one given by the other woman is the prettier kind of sketch. And it has been one of Dove's best marketing campaigns. And this touching commercial goes against the grain by changing beauty standards. So they're bringing average women to the table, more relatable women to the table, which wasn't really evident about 6 to 8 years ago. So the solution that they are selling, which is body wash and soap, is only part of the larger picture. And that's where the creativity comes in. So they're thinking, okay, it's only part of the larger picture. What can we do to make people feel that they're larger than just a simpler product? They feel better rather than look better. And that's really what Dove capitalized on, which I think is genius. Let's have a listen to part of this campaign.
I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, they really pulled this off. Every time I watch this campaign, I'm like, yep, they really did it. They did it. They did it quite well. It was an extremely famous campaign. It's actually quite become the textbook example of creative marketing. So they campaigned this on traditional media like the TV, but they also did it through digital media mostly. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, every single platform you can think of. And yeah, the video did end up go viral, which I think is also a good thing for them. But, you know, I kind of talk about creativity here as something being outside of the box, as something being totally new that's going to come save the day. But creativity can be very banal. And it can come out of less original content. And it can come out of user-generated content and pretty normative, vernacular creativity that people on a daily use. So, for example, Red Bull, I think, does a good job at capitalizing on this. And what Red Bull does is that it searches for people who are normal people, right, but do kind of extremist things and sponsor their videos. And a lot of Red Bull's campaigns have inserted their Red Bull gives you wings and adrenaline-infused kind of narrative onto random people's videos, and they've done a great job at it. And I want you to look at this audio from a Red Bull campaign.
For me, Red Bull Hardline is the most difficult downhill track there is.
World Cup downhill tracks, they don't scare you like Red Bull Hardline.
The cannon blew my mind. I'm not even going to do it. The step up
It's just huge.
So in this video, Red Bull sponsors 4 very average motorbikers as they try to do this extreme stunt. And Red Bull does this for a lot of its campaigns. And I also want you to hear this audio about an ex-Red Bull creative director talking about how they make creative marketing campaigns.
Most of the content activities came from the communications function within the marketing team. We used content as a tool to tell our stories and to show people the amazing things that we were doing and the great athletes we worked with. A lot of the things that we did at Red Bull were in the action sports realm, so they were super visual and spectacular, and it just made sense to capture that and share that with the world. Perhaps a little arrogantly, we felt that the mainstream media weren't particularly good at filming and photographing the kind of sports and things that we were involved in, so we took ownership of that. At Red Bull, we were always told to focus on the audience and what was important to them and what made them passionate about their scene, about their sport, about their favourite athletes, and really think about them as individuals and not really worry too much about how they all crossed over. So I think that sort of single-mindedness and focus on quite a few audiences was one of the things that put us ahead.
So yeah, I think Red Bull has kind of become the poster child of creative marketing in the digital field, and they've moved on quite well from just traditional media advertising. But I want to get to the fourth and fifth layer of the cake, and I want to move on to the interview with our expert. And this is going to be good. I know this is going to be good, and I'm really happy to have her here today. So hello, Giovanna. Nice to have you here with us today. For those of you who don't know, Giovanna and I know each other, so if this interview comes off as casual, that's because it is. But thank you for taking the time to come here. And I want to talk to you today about creative marketing. I've already put this in perspective. And I know as your expertise, you might have a good perspective on this. So Giovanna has been teaching marketing for 25 years. 25? Are you that old? Are you that old?
No, I started very young.
And she's taught in Australia, in the UAE, which you've been for the most part of your life. And you've done research in the Netherlands, so right?
Correct.
Yep. And in Switzerland now.
Yes.
But yeah, my first question, I want to get straight into it, is what do you think when I say creative advertising? So what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Thank you, Alyssa. I want to start by saying I'm delighted to be able to converse about this topic with you.
Thank you.
And creative marketing is actually, the word creative comes nowadays in every topic we talk about.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did touch on that.
But we should look at creativity as being a human skill.
Yeah.
In marketing, when we say creative advertising, we're looking at advertising that is delighting the consumer and putting the consumer at the heart of every proposition the marketer does. So in order to be creative, you have to really be doing what we call social listening, understanding what the consumer likes, what they want as consumers, hearing their voices, so the consumer produces the actual ad and not the marketer. So the marketer role is to showcase what those consumers are saying.
Perfect. And I want to talk to you about, like, what do you think the coronavirus, how do you think it has affected creative marketing? And do you think creative marketing has kind of been a way to still reach out to customers, even though that a lot of businesses are closed?
Sure. You know, in every topic, we can say that there is an evergreen topic that is a topic that goes on all the time, but that is what we call, and I'm going to repeat it, a topical topic. Coronavirus or COVID-19 is a topical topic. So it talks about states of the current situation. So the marketers have creatively taken this topic and worked out advertisements around it. And not only advertisements, a lot of messages have come up, like stay at home, let's get together, let's get together through social media. You don't need to get together physically, but get together. It's not, we don't talk about, in fact, social distancing is a wrong concept. it's physical distancing that is the right concept.
Yeah, definitely.
So the marketer have been...
Okay, you're a marketer, obviously, by your
Oh.
by you saying that.
So the marketer actually have had an opportunity, I should say, if they were wise enough to look at how can they use this topical topic to further advance their brand.
Definitely. You mentioned earlier that Slack as a company is a communication company.
Yes.
And they've done a really good job at
That's a brilliant
capitalizing.
example.
Yeah. So Slack have done a good job at, well, it's their time to shine anyway. This is their crisis. There couldn't be a better time for them to make such a creative marketing campaign.
And many brands actually have done great efforts
Yeah, for
despite
sure.
this COVID-19.
For sure.
Even luxurious brands that have
I
been
mean, we're
putting
talking-
stories
Yeah.
about how their beginnings. So now they're not perhaps selling on a daily basis,
Yeah.
but they are creating what we call an atmosphere around their brand.
So I want to come back to you. So you've been teaching creative marketing and linking industry to academia and 21st century skills for quite some time now, and you've done your research about this, and you've done your thesis about this. So how do you teach creativity? Like, can you teach creativity, and how do you use creativity yourself in your classroom? So let's say we have an employer. How can an employer listening to this podcast use creativity, or your explanation of creativity and how to teach creativity in order to teach employees that they run?
Right. This question is an important question and a very good question. Thank you, Alyssa. In fact, there is a big debate around creativity, whether it is innate or you can train someone to become creative.
Yeah, that was my
And
question.
that dilemma is not a clear cut, but let's assume that it has a bit of both, and let's assume that it can be trained. In my answer, I say that the way a teacher teaches can impart a feeling of creativity or permits to the student to become more creative. Example, once we use dialogic classrooms, it is not about the teacher, it's not a one-side speech. The teacher does not stand and talk all the time and the student listens. This is not gonna work. It has to be a conversation where both are learners and they exchange ideas
bounce off each other.
and then this sparks, if you like, creativity.
Exactly.
And to take it to the work, the more you prepare empowered students, the more you prepare students who are exposed to dialogues, to industries, to real life scenarios, the more you prepare an environment of respect and exchange, the more you prepare also with projects and challenges, the more you prepare the students to embrace thinking outside of the box ideas and becoming more creative.
Who then become creative employees.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in and giving us your gracious insight.
Pleasure.
I mean, we're going to be talking about this for quite some time, and I'm going to come to you with more questions about creative
Always
marketing.
welcome.
But thank you for taking your time, and I hope
I'm going to say that this is a brilliant topic, and I wish you luck in your work.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
That was it from Giovanna and I. Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast on creative marketing. The Layered Cake podcast is going to be online every Sunday and Thursday. Please make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out our social media too at the Layered Cake podcast. And thank you for tuning in. I hope it was a fruitful and inciting podcast for you. See you soon.